Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, here at ASEP Center and at home. Hope everybody's doing well. How's everybody doing here?
Fine, fine.
Doing great?
Yes.
Fantastic. Again, my name is Diallo, and today we're going to be doing current events. And today is Friday, April 30th, 2021. Now, who would have thought you would make it to 2021? I don't care who you are, right? Time goes by really fast, doesn't it? Cherish every moment, right? But we're going to look into what's going on, not only in local news, but also in the world today. Okay, we're reading out of the East Bay Times and our local, which is our local affiliate here. You see, the East Bay Times, a local affiliate newspaper. It's part of the Bay Area News Group, okay, which used to be like the Contra Costa Times, things like that. All right, so we're going to look and see what is going on in the United States, in the Bay Area, and in the world. Because what happens across the world does affect us here in the Bay Area. It really does. And what happens here affects other parts of the world. All right, so let's get started here. Let's go to this first one, which I heard some things on the radio, and I'm pretty interested in this. And if you're here, if you live in a major city or even the Bay Area here, when you drive around, there's something that you notice, right? There's people on the street that are homeless. You notice it everywhere in the Bay Area. So we're looking at the local news from Sacramento, okay? Title is Homeless Crisis. Will states spend $20 billion on homelessness? So trying to fix and alleviate the homeless problem, which a lot of people, there are people on the streets that have addiction problems, they have mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia, bipolar, things like that. And there are some homeless people who just don't want to live in society. They just want to live on their own, right? Just like there's people who want to move to the woods and build their own log cabin and live on their own in Alaska. So let's read about what this says. It says Bay Area mayors push for historic 5-year investment. Bay Area mayors on Thursday urged the state to do something unprecedented, spend $20 billion in a multi-year effort to combat California's massive homelessness crisis. Their proposal would dedicate $4 billion every year for 5 years to continue the historic efforts California has made to house and shelter people during the pandemic. That sum would roughly half of the state. That sum would be roughly half of the state's projected 2021 budget surplus when factoring in. So that sum would be roughly half of the state's projected 2021 budget surplus when factoring in $26 billion California was allocated in federal stimulus money. It's a lot of money, right? This year's budget presents California with a once-in-a-generation opportunity to dramatically reduce homelessness if we can muster the collective courage and will to stand up for our most vulnerable neighbors, San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo said, speaking with other members of the Big City Mayors Coalition, which represents the state's 13 largest cities. Democrats in both state assembly and Senate also are backing the proposal and call for the $20 billion 5-year investment when they release their 2021 budget priorities early this month. If approved, it would be the largest allocation of funds dedicated to fighting homelessness in U.S. history, according to mayors. $20 billion is an appropriate large investment in California's largest problem, Oakland Mayor's Libby Schaaf said. It is something that we know our residents want, to see that we are actually going to bend the curve and not juggle each year with the uncertainty of whether or not we're going to get a one-time allocation and what the amount of that allocation is going to be. There are more than 160,000 people without homes in California, according to the latest federal count. That's more than a quarter of the country's total homeless population. California has over a quarter of the country's homeless population. Why do you think that is?
Jobs.
No, homeless. California has over 25% of the country's homeless people. Why do you think that is? Why does California attract homeless people like that? There's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is because California is just really expensive, especially places like LA and here in the Bay Area. So you're probably going to have more homeless people because there's going to be less people that can afford housing. Another thing is weather, right? Weather's a big factor, especially in the Bay Area. We have a Mediterranean climate where if you're homeless in San Francisco, you don't have to worry about it being hot, and it doesn't get too cold. Rains a little bit, but overall it's a pretty temperate climate. Imagine being homeless in Arizona and Phoenix, where it's 115 degrees, right? In the summertime. Exactly, Louisiana, where it's 100 degrees with 95% humidity and mosquitoes. Ooh. Or Florida, same thing, right? In January, Governor Gavin Newsom proposed a 2021 budget that includes $1.75 billion in new investments for homeless housing. But California has no ongoing source of funding dedicated to the crisis, something lawmakers and homeless housing experts have long been pushing to change. Newsom is expected to release a revised budget plan next month. So Newsom is expected to release a revised budget plan next month, a version of which then will be passed for legislation this summer. California launched ambitious projects to curb homelessness during the COVID-19 pandemic as officials rushed to get people out of the encampments and crowded shelters where the virus could run rampant. The state sheltered more than 35,000 people in hotels and motels through its Project Roomkeep program and created 6,000 units of long-term homeless housing through the Home Key program, which funded efforts by the critics and counties to convert hotels and other budget buildings into housing. That's pretty good, huh? That's pretty good. Nice. So yeah, they're definitely, our state is going to throw money at homelessness. You think that's going to work? Yeah, there's a couple different sides to it, right? There's the group that says we need more money, more investment so that we can try to fix the problem. And then there's the other side of the group that says throwing money at the problem doesn't help anything, right? You can throw some money, you can throw all the money in the world, but if the infrastructure is there and the right people in place to not fix the problem, it'll never get fixed. So it just depends on how you look at homelessness, or how you look at anything. If you're money out, like a school, same thing. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, here's one. This is about animals. It's about a baby whale. So experts asking for help finding baby whales seen entangled in fishing gear. Oh. Let's see. Let's read that. It's page 8, so I know. Wait, what section?
Can you eat whales?
What's that?
Can you eat them?
You can eat whales. We don't, though. No. It'd be like eating a dog. People don't do it.
No.
But yeah, I mean, you could eat whales back in like Inuit populations in Alaska back in the day. They eat seals and sea lions and whales. And they would use the whale blubber for heat, right? The whale blubber can be and the fat can be produced down to make kerosene and oil like that, oil lamps. And in the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s, whaling was a big industry. So your career would be a captain of a whaling ship, and you would go around and harpoon whales to try to get the oil and the fat out of it. Like the book Moby Dick, right? The book Moby Dick. Captain Ahab. It was his mission to find Dick, which was a white whale, and kill it. But the whale was smart and would always go after him, kill a bunch of people. So again, mammal experts are asking the public to help locate a gray whale calf entangled in fishing gear that is believed to be swimming through Monterey Bay or oceans further north. The animal, which is about 20 feet long, was first spotted off Dana Point in Orange County on April 19th. It was swimming next to its mother as part of the huge migration of gray whales make every year from lagoons in Baja California to feeding grounds in Alaska. The whale had a fishing line entangled in its mouth with a buoy trailing behind. If the animal can be relocated, rescue crews in small inflatable boats will attempt to cut the gear off the animal, said Karen Grimmer, resource protection coordinator for the Monterey National Marine Sanctuary. Experts from Marine Mammal Center, Long Marine Lab, Moss Landing Labs, and NOAA and other organizations have cut other whales free in waters off Northern California in recent years, she said. After they locate an entangled whale, they use long carbon fiber poles with a blade at the end of it to cut the ropes or other gear. Sometimes the whales can throw the gear off, Grimmer said. Other times we cut all the gear or most of the gear off. Most of the time that occurs. The third scenario is that we don't see the whale again and it dies. It is a very dedicated group of very passionate people who put their lives at risk. They take it very seriously. They are often successful. Now they put their lives at risk because it's a whale. How big do you think a whale is? This is a baby whale that's 20 feet long. So imagine a baby whale, okay, from this wall right here to that wall. That's about 20 feet. But imagine it being as round as a school bus. And it weighs, it weighs 10,000 pounds. That's a big animal. Basically, if it were to jump out of the water and land on your boat, you'd be dead because it would squish you like a fly, right? And it's dangerous because these whales, they don't know that we're trying to help them. So they could take it as a threat and ram you. Because again, when they're trying to cut off these fishing lines off the whale, they're in little dinghies, little motor powered dinghies that are from here to like here. And the whale is 20 feet long and 10,000 pounds. And they're trying to get close to the whale in a little dinghy on the water, which the water is not our environment. It's the whale's environment. Man. All right, so let's look at some news from Richmond. This is kind of sad news. Okay. Yeah, I like to show all the different types of news around. This one's from Richmond. Shooting victim was a football star in Europe. One of two men killed in a double shooting in Richmond earlier this week showcased his football skills in Europe and briefly became a star. James Langford III, 31 of San Pablo, died in a hail of bullets Tuesday evening while sitting in his vehicle south of 2nd Street and Ohio Avenue in the Santa Fe area, where police said he had gone to get in a workout. About 20 minutes later, 21-year-old Tyree Wilson of Richmond also was fatally shot while sitting in his parked vehicle at the Pool Point Apartments in the 3,000 block of Pullman Avenue. Police said there are 2 suspects in each shooting, but have not made any arrests. Sergeant Aaron Pomeroy said police believe the killings are related and that the same black Dodge Charger was seen at both shootings. The 2 suspects fled the second shooting in a Dodge, Pomeroy said. Langford's death was mourned by, among others, the Cologne Crocodiles of the German Football League, where he ran for 1,900 yards and 22 touchdowns in 2016. A year earlier, Langford helped the Kragujevac Wild Bears in Serbia's top league, which the semifinal in Serbia's top league reached the semifinals in the league playoffs. I didn't know they played football in Serbia. He played his prep football at Hercules High School before going to Shaw University, an NCAA Division II school located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Police said Langford appeared to be going to a gym he frequented and he parked close by. As he got out of the car, 2 men jumped out of an Infiniti G37, walked up to the vehicle and began shooting at him, Richmond Police Aaron Pomeroy said. Sounds like he was going for a workout at the gym, got out of his car, and people started shooting him. That's just sad, right? That's just sad that we're killing it like black men, we're just killing each other like that for no reason. Just killing each other all over the country. We're just killing each other. So he died at the scene. The Infiniti was one of two vehicles at that scene. The black Dodge Charger was the other. Police said that it does not appear that Langford and Wilson knew each other. They were the fifth and sixth homicide victims in the city of Richmond this year. Police have investigated 5 of them, and the California Highway Patrol has investigated 1. This sounds, I know what it sounds like to me, it sounds like a gang initiation. So in a lot of these gangs, like MS-13, things like that, to be a full-fledged member of the gang, you have to commit a murder. And it's a murder, it doesn't have to be anybody specific, it could be a random person. And to get to the gang, you have to commit a murder. That's what this sounds like. You know, unless there's something we don't know, I think we're involved in something, but just right on top of it, it sounds like a gang murder. It's terrible, right? Terrible. These people need to be put down. Those people need to be put down like dogs. That's what they are, dogs. All right. So sad. Let's see what else you got. Get the Berkeley Voice. This is a special section that comes out every Friday. It's just about Berkeley. Let's see. Here we go. So here's a good story. This is from Contra Costa College, which is right down the road, right? It says graduating class gets its student debt paid for. So when people graduate college now, they got a lot of debt, and from all the way from $1,000 to $200,000, $300,000 in college loan debt. So let's see. San Pablo. The burden of paying off leftover school debt will be lifted from students graduating from Contra Costa College this May, thanks to an effort from the college's foundation. The Contra Costa College Foundation has eliminated any outstanding fees that students of the May 2021 class owed, which totaled nearly $13,300, said Sarah Marcelino, director of the foundation. The debt ranged from $7 to $1,700 per student, which with an average debt of $214 per student. 62 students were helped by the debt eraser program. Who had $7 in debt? That's a really random number. How much debt do you have? $7. Students who owe money to the school cannot receive diplomas, so the effort to pay off the debt, dubbed the Finish Line Fund, was created to ensure they could graduate without the burden of paying leftover fees. Wow. So these are fees from the school. So if you have a library book overdue, and let's say it's $1 that you owe, if you don't pay it, you don't get your diploma. It's $1. But you know what it is? It's the principle of it. If you have debt, you got to pay it. It's the principle of being an adult. The foundation asked the school's admission and records department for a list of students who were seeking to graduate in May but still owed money, and then wrote a check to the financial aid office to cover the debt without telling the students, Marcelino said. Imagine the sigh of relief these students are taking right now, said Contra Costa College interim president Damon Bell in a statement. According to the foundation, about 39% of Contra Costa College students are the first in their families to go to college, and about 85% are what the foundation considers low or low income. The school is part of the Contra Costa Community College District. While the foundation offers various tools to help students financially, including scholarship funds, support for educational programs, and money to help with emergencies, Marcelino said it's the first time they have done a student debt eraser program. Student debt has received intense focus in recent years, including a major discussion point in the 2020 presidential election. According to a report from the Brookings Institute, there are about $1.5 trillion of student debt in the United States, an increase from $250 billion in 2004. Student loans have become the biggest portion of household debt after mortgages, and one in every 8 Americans have student loans. So that's really awesome that they're doing that for those students, right? Even if it's $7 or it's $1,000, they're making sure that these people have their debt paid for, so they can move on and be functioning members of society without the burden of having to pay off this debt over their head. That's a huge burden for a lot of people. It stops, if you have, $80, $90, $100,000 in debt, it stops you from buying a car, buying a house, getting married, like a lot of things, having kids. It stops you from doing a lot of things. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. We got some real estate. Lots of big houses for sale. Lots of big houses. All right, let's look in the East Bay Times here, in the main section. Let's see. Where's page 5? There it is. So here's a story about Joe Biden, which is our president now, and Jimmy Carter. You know who Jimmy Carter is?
Yes.
He was the president in the 70s, right? Yeah. So here's a story about them. Biden and Carter, longtime allies, finally reconnect. President Joe Biden was a first-term Delaware senator in 1976 when he endorsed an upstart former Southern governor for the presidency over the party's Northern establishment players. Biden came full circle Thursday, visiting Jimmy Carter and his wife, Rosalind, in a tiny Plains, Georgia, where the 96-year-old former president and 93-year-old former first lady have lived for most of their lives. He showed us throughout his entire life what it means to be a public servant, Biden, 78, said of Carter for a new documentary called Carterland, set to debut this weekend as part of the Atlanta Film Festival. The private meeting on Thursday brought together the oldest sitting president and the longest living former president in history. It was the first in-person encounter since Biden took office. The two presidents didn't appear together outside the Carter's home. Biden was seen with Rosalind Carter at the door as he departed. The former first lady stood alongside him, supported by her walker. Many of the 650 residents of Plains turned out to see the Biden motorcade. The Carters were unable to attend the January 20 inauguration, the first they'd missed since Jimmy Carter was sworn in as the 39th president in 1977. The Carters have retreated from public life for most of the coronavirus pandemic, but they are now vaccinated and recently began attending church services again. That's good to hear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's good. Jimmy Carter, I think, was an underrated president. He wasn't the best, he wasn't the worst, but he was definitely underrated. So here's one. What is this? So this one is about coming from Oakland. And it's about the racial divide in education. Okay, the racial and economic and socioeconomic divide in education, meaning that if you're in a poor area, the schools are going to be worse than if you're in a more wealthy area, because the wealthy area have higher taxes, and those taxes go to pay for the schools. Not only that, because it's wealthy, those parents actually donate more money to the school, so those schools are able to have more extracurricular resources and just regular resources like books, right? Less affluent schools generally have either very little textbooks or the textbooks are old. And they don't have all the extracurricular activities like art programs, after school STEM programs, so science, technology, engineering, and math. They don't have those. It's sad. Let's look at this. Oakland schools should focus on students' early literacy. I was raised in deep East Oakland near Eastmont Mall, where I attended Parker Elementary School. I saw firsthand the power of reading and literacy to lift up the students we are here to serve. I saw it in my own friends and family. Years later, I returned to Parker as a new teacher. For my first 2 years teaching, I had no reading curriculum, but was lucky to have the guidance of Principal Deborah Davis. It also impressed upon me the need for systematic solutions. That's why it's my mission to ensure that all Oakland School District students, starting with our youngest, receive a strong reading foundation. The literacy gap is rooted in racism, segregation, and the fundamental belief that some students cannot achieve. It demands a systematic solution. While tests do not measure everything, on the 2019 Smarter Balance exam, just 20% of Oakland's Black students and 23% of Oakland's Hispanic students met the standards in 3rd through 5th grade, compared to 76% of white Oakland students. So that's a huge gap, right? The white students are passing at 3 times the amount. Oh, man, that's huge. This cannot be our future. This is why you will see early literacy in my forthcoming strategic plan. Our community partners have also identified early literacy as a top priority. A team of community and staff members is now developing a set of goals to guide our work. That is also why we have been updating all our curriculum to support rigorous teaching and learning. In the next month, the Oakland Board of Education will vote to adopt a new elementary literacy curriculum. We have a teacher-led advisory committee and a 2-year pilot program to ensure the curriculum is standard-based, challenging, rooted in science, and provides enough support for our teachers. Success is bridging the literacy gaps will come when we operate on shared values and understanding. First, we must double down on what it means to be a strong reader. Students need to talk, read, write, and learn to synthesize ideas, a district focus beginning with the first day of school. In a strong literacy-focused classroom, students learn how letters and words fit together before diving deeper into reading. So yeah, you gotta know your ABCs before you can read, right? So if you don't know your ABCs, you're not gonna be able to read, okay? Second, we must ground classrooms and decisions in equity. We must believe that our students, no matter their race or identity, current proficiency or disability, can become strong readers. And our students themselves need to feel that they are strong readers. A strong literacy program must work for all students, with teachers tailoring instructions to that student so that student can access books that challenge them. Third, we must train and support our educators. With our multi-year commitment to literacy across the district, we can provide resources, support that teachers will need. After the Board of Education votes next month on adopting new elementary English arts curricula, the district must support every teacher every week. Fourth, we must work with our families. I want to continue to work hand in hand with families to ensure students are strong readers and develop a deep love for reading in school and at home. We will continue to host a monthly early literacy summits and family workshops to provide resources for families. Finally, we will enlist the support of the entire community. We need every part of the city to step up in this effort. As our students thrive, so does our town. Our students deserve the opportunity to be successful in college. So our students deserve the opportunity to be successful in college, career, and community. They are eager to understand the world and make it a better place. We owe it to open students and our future to prepare them for the literacy skills they need for the future. So not bad, right? You gotta have kids read. That's the main. You gotta have the kids read. If they can't read, it's gonna be hard. If they can't do math, it's gonna be difficult. So we're gonna finish off here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna end with today in history and news of the weird, which is my favorites. So we're gonna look at today in history, which what it does, it looks back on April 30th, back in time, so in different years. So for instance, the first one, April 30th, 1789. George Washington took the oath of office in New York as the first president of the United States. So in 1789, George Washington became our first president. And then when he resigned as president, or he didn't run for re-election, you know what happened? They wanted him to be the king. They wanted George Washington to be the king of the United States, but he refused. You know how rare that is, that the highest person in power for any given society gives up power willingly? That doesn't happen very often. Usually, most people in that situation would have been the dictator for life, right? But they wanted him to literally be the Julius Caesar of America. So let's look at this. April 30th, 1945. As Soviet troops approached his Berlin bunker, Adolf Hitler took his own life along with his wife of one day, Eva Braun. He'd been dating Eva Braun for over 10 years. She was 15 years his junior. So and they met when she was about 19. He started dating her and he was in his 40s. You liked young women. You did. No, not even young women. You liked young girls. Many in the Nazi regime, they had their way with little girls. It was kind of gross. That kind of gross. It is gross. So April 30th, 1973, President Richard Nixon did what? What do you think happened on the April 30th, 1973? What did Richard Nixon announce? He resigned. Why did Richard Nixon resign? Watergate, exactly. Where he had his little minions break into the Watergate Hotel and steal campaign files from the opposing campaign. Didn't work out too well because they were really sloppy. Like if they weren't sloppy, they would have got away with it, but they were pretty dumb. So President Nixon announced the resignation of top aides H.R. Haldeman and John Onrick, Attorney General Richard G. Kleindienst, and White House counsel John Dean, who were actually fired. So April 30th, 1975, the Vietnam War ended as the South Vietnamese capital of Saigon fell to the communist forces. So that was a time after America had left. And the Vietnamese, the Northern just came in and took over. And a lot of people fled. They had to. So now let's look at news of the weird. This is called mistaken identity. the Krakow, Poland, the Krakow Society, which is in Poland, so the Krakow Society for the Protection of Animals responded on April 14th to a report that a suspected iguana was stuck in a lilac tree outside a residential building, only to discover it was discarded croissants instead. It was a discarded croissant instead. People don't open windows because they are afraid it's going to enter their house, the caller told the group. United Press International reported the Animal Rescue Agency was forgiving. It's better to check and be pleasantly disappointed than to react, which can sometimes lead to a tragedy, the group posted on its Facebook page. So what happened? Again, the Krakow Society for the Protection of Animals responded on April 14th to a report that a suspected iguana was stuck in a lilac tree outside a residential building. So it was an iguana, like a giant lizard. But when they came and actually looked, it was just a discarded croissant. So a big piece of bread. Oh, that's funny. Today's Willie Nelson's birthday. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money at the table. That's all I know. That's funny. All right. So again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me today. Again, my name is Diallo, and this is Current Events from the East Bay Times. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next time. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Get lots of sun. Enjoy it.